Greeting watchers one and all, the Watchful One here, where it's our 7-year anniversary! I thought there'd be a little more fanfare than that. Can we at least get a balloon? Why do I even bother? But yeah, I've basically been doing this since the beginning of 2014. So basically what I'm trying to say is that in YouTube years I'm ready for retirement. But YouTube don't believe in retirements or vacations, so neither do I. Back to the grindstone for the 7-year anniversary video. It does bring the question though, what exactly am I going to talk about? Usually on this channel I've made it a tradition to talk about something pony related that's very personal to me. Usually a top 10 list of some kind. But that side of me I pretty much buried a long time ago, so yeah, I can't exactly do that. I struggled with what exactly I could do for the 7-year anniversary. And then it hit me. What better way to celebrate 7 years of working in such a volatile field as internet content creation than celebrating others who make it in this field? Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what upbringing you have, everyone's got a senpai. And I'm going to be counting down 15 of them right here. Yeah, I'm a whore, shut up. But in all seriousness, I don't think I'd be where I am today without these people making the kind of content they do and inspiring me to do the same. Think of it as a mutual give and take. They give me content, and I take it into my eye holes. And now this schlub is gonna thank them by ranking them. But first, let's get the boring stuff out of the way and talk about the rules. I know, I'll be really quick, I swear. Rule number 1, and this will be pretty obvious, no corporate YouTube channels. Now, considering more and more YouTubers are building a brand, as it were, this could be a little dubious, so let me explain what I mean, and trust me, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I mention the names. Cause to me, there's a content creator making his own brand and making his name in the world, versus a corporate shill just trying to cash in on that sweet ad revenue. So no Watch Mojo, no Screen Rant, and no corporate YouTube channels like Pepsi or something. No matter what YouTube HQ wants to tell you, the you in YouTube is still a thing. Got it? Probably not. I'll probably get a comment about it, but I don't care. Moving on. Rule number 2, it can only be content creators that are still making content. This one should be obvious, but it was also a painful rule I had to implement. Because it meant that a lot of content creators I personally grew up with could not qualify for the list. And since this could be a little dubious, let me explain what I mean by retired or gone. I mean people who said they've retired straight up, or who have not updated their Twitter or any social media in a long time. So that means no Lou Tunes, and very painfully, no Super Best Friends play. And finally, this was easily my hardest list I've ever had to make. Every time I had to make a painful choice on what got cut and what stayed, I felt like I was Sophie's choicing some of my own children. So if you don't see a creator you like on this list or disagree with the placement, too bad, so sad, it's my opinion. And I filled you guys up long enough, so let's get to the list proper before you click off the video. Here are my top 15 favorite YouTubers.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
I can think of no better way to start the countdown than with Goth Dad. Low-key, I've never been super interested in the goth scene as far as fashion and homemaking, but I'll be damned if Voltaire didn't light a pitch black fire right under my ass. Because even though he's mostly known for his music, he's also fun as hell just talking about something he's so passionate about. Be it making some nice cemetery dirt parfaits for Halloween, or releasing an eldritch horror like no other with his Cthulhu Rita, which I've tried, and to this day my brain is now sponge. But regardless, it's just fun to see him talk about it as well as follow along with it if you ever feel like it. And I think the reason why he's so passionate is because gothic homemaking is not exactly something that's been done before. Oh sure, I'm not gonna say they don't exist at all, but to me, they haven't done it quite like Voltaire has. I can't explain it, but there's just something so infectiously happy about him. When he's happy and passionate, you're happy. And I knew that from the very first video I saw of him where he talked about monster-themed restaurants. These places are awesome, and I want to visit them someday. I just wish my wallet didn't cry every time I even thought about it. Donate to my Patreon. Well, who said that? Oh well, in any case, if you're not into that stuff, he is a musician, but honestly, you should give his gothic homemaking stuff a try because it's a lot of fun. Also, there's a reason why I called him Goth Dad. He makes a lot of dad jokes.
Resting on a flaming pentagram. Hot damn. So, you guessed it, I wolfed it down. Just mix. Mix your pudding. Mix your pudding, yeah. Beyond all the red and green, some of the trees were nuts. I was pretty sure this guy was the owner. And voila, a black widow. A gorgeous drink with a lethal sting.
So many dad jokes. Okay, but joking aside, I can appreciate someone who dresses like this and yet can be a complete goofball. It just seems like a really cool guy and I appreciate that. I wish I had more to say, but honestly, when it comes to Voltaire, what you see is what you get. You see a big goth dad clad in black, you're getting a big goth dad clad in black. Also, him and his wife are absolutely adorable together. Hashtag relationship goals.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
You know, I'll be totally honest, as much as I like this guy, I did not expect him to be on the list at all. But the more and more I went through my subscriber count, the more and more I went through people, the more and more this guy grew on me. Oh, look at that, a list maker on a list, how appropriate. Okay, joking aside, as I said, I was not expecting to put this guy on the list at all. That's not to say I don't like Wambu, I mean he's on my list after all. But if I had to choose at least one list taker, I was not expecting it to be Wambu. Jaw Scorcher, Green Scorpion, I guess Anime America if you want to count them. But out of all of them, Wambu kicked their asses. Why is that? Well, let's start with what I do like about this guy. For one thing, in my opinion, Wambu is the funniest top 10 list maker I've ever seen. That's not to say the others are unfunny, quite the opposite, they can be very funny too. But to me, Wambu is the funniest for one simple reason. He's the perfect balance between actual critique and comedy. In some cases, blurring the line between comedy and critique by having it be both. Like he'll critique something but have an actual comedic spin on it. Like a personal favorite line of mine is him calling something bullshit and saying he loves it. I don't know why, but I find that both hilarious and insightful. Also, another thing I really like about him is that his editing skills are insane. Like seriously, looking at his early episodes, they're not bad, but the editing is very minimal. But he is the perfect example of someone who's grown. Because looking at his editing skills in his later videos, they are insanely good. And insanely creative as well. Like seriously, he changes the color of his OC just to reflect his mood. And moves his eyes like they're his own entity. Like really, you didn't have to flex that hard, you didn't have to show how good you are at editing and make me jealous, but I love it. And if anything, like so many other creators on this list, it inspires me to try and do better in my own editing. Not just that, but my own humor and writing as well. Even though this is totally and completely unscripted, but I'm writing it in my mind, okay? I wonder what's out there. The final thing I want to talk about though is pretty much the list that put him on the map and probably my favorite video from him. The Spookiest House of Jump Scare ranking. This was honest to God the video that pushed him over the edge for me as far as one of my favorite creators. It's literally everything I love about Wambu in one video. His editing skills, his unique OC, his critiquing, and his comedy. Every single one of them is on its A game in this video, and it's good to hear this was the video that sent him over the edge for the 100,000 subscriber count. Which by the way, Wambu, if you end up seeing this, congratulations man. You totally deserve it and I'm totally not jealous of it at all and want to move on to the next list before I see something I'll regret.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Witching with Watchful, where today's episode we're going to be looking at the number 13 spot on my YouTubers list. That's right, Binging with Babish is coming in at the number 13 spot, probably one of the best cooking channels on YouTube and probably one of the fastest growing too. And if I can just flex for a bit and be totally honest, I was into Binging with Babish before he blew up. I was into Babish from his earliest work. I want to say the first video of his I ever saw was the El Timpano, a recipe I had no hope of ever creating, but good god was I entertained watching him make it. And I think that's what hooked me in and why I still watch his stuff. He makes cooking fun. Oh sure, he's not the first chef on YouTube, heck he's not even the first one to make fictional foods. But I don't know, maybe it's just the crazy recipes, maybe it's his sultry voice, maybe he just oozes cool. But I still loved Babish's work and honestly he's the reason I got back into cooking after all these years. I kinda fell out of cooking for a decent part of my life just because I lacked motivation and also my job was kicking my ass. Hey, you work at Taco Bell and have the urge to cook ever again. And yet when I saw Babish's videos, I felt the urge to cook again. Because the recipes felt complex, yet at the same time very simple to follow. And I think the very first one I actually tried was some of the Bob's Burgers ones. Specifically the Baby You Can Drive My Car burger. And yes, I totally did the driving car sound effects when I served it to my family. Hashtag no regrets. So why isn't he any higher? Well, to be totally honest, I just haven't had the time to watch his stuff recently. Between having to do this and working a full-time job, it's kinda hard to find the time. That being said, if there's a recipe that piques my interest, I still try to make time for it. But all things considered, placing 13 out of 15 still ain't too bad. Now let's move on before I stop this video to make something.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Let it be known that just because I'm a guy, doesn't mean I can't appreciate fashion, dressing, and beauty. And the number 12 spot is here to prove my point.
This is Sofia's new intro song.
You can entirely thank my girlfriend for Sofia getting on this list. Because during date night we've been watching her content and I've been very slowly getting into her stuff. Even if I'm not really into fashion and design, I can appreciate it for one simple reason. Sofia herself. Her and her husband just makes this stuff so much fun. And I can say I saw that in full swing from the very first video I saw of them together, which I wanna say is the Japanese spa theme park. Again, we kinda just marathoned these during date night, so I kinda lost track of what was my very first one. That being said, it is one of the videos that I come back to a lot whenever I rewatch her content. I don't know what it is, it's just so much fun to see this weird theme park through her lens. In fact, I'd say the cheese theme park and the Japanese vending machines are the ones I come back to the most when I rewatch her stuff. It's just really fun and interesting to see her explore all these things, going into detail and just giving her own personal takes on things. Like, I would have never thought to take a bath in sake, but apparently it works wonders. But let's be honest, there's really only one video that puts her on this list, her Franken videos. Making a Franken bath bomb from the Bath & Body Works bath bombs. I'm saying bath a lot. To the Franken lipstick, to the Franken candle and that demon blueberry. Or of course, the Franken wedding cake. This one is easily my personal favorite out of all of them. Maybe it's just my inner chef talking. Maybe it's just seeing Sofia and Tyler go nuts over this. Maybe it's just how interesting the cake comes across and to hear their tasting notes. Or maybe, just maybe, it's all those things combined. Yeah, it's probably that last one. There's also just some interesting flavors there, like a pink champagne one, and of course the matcha. It's kind of inspired me to do something for my wedding cake when I get married. Not the Franken cake, god no, I don't have that much patience. But something similar to that. But that being said, her other videos are equally just as fun, and I do recommend her a lot. And heck, if even my slubby, unfashionable butt can appreciate her stuff, I'm pretty sure anyone can at this point. That sounded better in my head, just go to the next entry.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Well, with how much I absolutely love music, it seems only fair and appropriate that a music YouTuber is going to be somewhere on this list. But then it's just a matter of who exactly is it going to be. But at the end of the day, I had to choose the one that got me into these YouTubers, and of course it's the man in the shadows. Todd was one of those YouTubers I got into back when I used to be into the Nostalgia Critic. And out of all the YouTubers I got into because of the Nostalgia Critic, he's the one I stuck with the most. Which was really funny because up until that point, I really didn't care about music. Don't get me wrong, it's not like I disliked music, but I just wasn't into it like I am now. But that all changed when I watched the very first video of Todd's that I ever saw, which was Party Rock Anthem. And despite his review of it being very negative, I still got into it. But I honestly really liked his funny commentary on the music. And I think a lot of that stems from the fact that his production was very low quality. Now don't misunderstand me, that's not a dig at him. I'm just saying it's low quality in the sense that it's very DIY. The keyboard, light, microphone, and camera setup he's been using for God knows how long. Thanks to all that, we're able to focus on his writing a lot more, which in my opinion works to his benefit a lot. By keeping things simple in his production, he's able to focus on that writing and tell the jokes a lot better. And it's not like we don't get any physical humor out of him. I'm particularly fond of when he smashes his nuts. And of course, I can't talk about Todd without talking about the two reasons why I've stuck with him for all these years. His one-hit Wonderland reviews and his year-end lists. His one-hit Wonderland reviews just because it's always fun to see these. To him go in depth about bands that are forgotten but their songs are still remembered. From his very first review on Take On Me, I knew I was gonna love these. I should probably also give a special mention to Train Records, which is also a really good series. And of course, his year-end list is kind of a tradition of mine. I honestly just can't complete the year without seeing his best and worst list. But as much as I like the worst list and seeing him tear apart bad pop songs, his best list is easily my favorite of the year ends. I'm completely with Todd. I prefer praising something over bashing something, and I can tell that he loves praising the songs on his year-end list. Not to mention more music recommendations. And I hope Todd continues to make music reviews for as long as he possibly can. Also, please come out of the shadows, you're scaring the children.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're officially in the top 10. This is where things are going to start getting interesting as far as placement, ranking, and all that stuff. It's also where the list just got harder and harder and harder. Seriously, the next couple entries kind of jumped between placements. But when I finally settled on a placement, I thought of no better person to kick off the list than one of my favorite storytime animators. Yeah, I said it, Jaden's my favorite storytime animator. And for a damn good reason. Well, several, but who's counting? I first discovered Jaden way back when she was doing much more story-based animation rather than video game stuff. I think the first video of hers I saw was Dumb Stuff She Does. And I know everyone makes the joke of lol, OMG, that's so relatable. but it wasn't the relatability that drew me in actually. What drew me in was, well, it's kinda hard to describe this, but the dry wit to her humor. She had a very laid-back, matter-of-fact way of telling her humor, and I honestly thought it was really funny. Just the way she casually talks and mentions stuff, I kind of related to that a lot more. Just cause I personally believe I also have a casual monotone voice even when I'm telling jokes. So it's nice to know I'm not the only one who feels that way about my voice. And also a little thing I noticed, because I actually went back and watched a lot of YouTube videos from these guys in preparation for this list. And Jaden is an interesting case because her design and animation improved spectacularly over the years. Not that her original design was bad, there's a charming simplicity to it. But when you get to a certain point in the videos, it's like, oh, mwah, oh, that design. The expressive faces and movements while being actually human, like, beautiful, I dig it. However, in recent years, he's taken a turn that I actually really appreciate. He's been doing more video game based animation. Pokemon Nuzlocke, Cooking Mama, weird video games, just all kinds of stuff. And as someone who's kind of just always been a gamer at heart, I really appreciate this. I may have come for the storytime animations, but I stayed for the wacky video game shenanigans. And it makes me excited for what she's gonna do next because as of this recording, her latest video is her Nuzlocke Platinum and oh my god, this might be her best video to date. I mean seriously, her Pokemon Nuzlocke, they're like a goddamn anime. I would actually watch a full-blown animated series about this. In fact, JaidenAnimations anime, let's get that crowdfunded, people.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Nanba nan haatsu, kona ichiro no antiro ni dero u eraba koto ga degatatsu ka. Jaden no animation u uchi makasu no nai jubina hito wa deratsu ka. Sora wa kara, the Gaijin. Also, my sincerest apologies if I completely butchered that. Yep, the crazy Gaijin Goomba himself had to be on this list. But why of all people would a tiny ass little mushroom beat JaidenAnimations? Well, there's several reasons actually. For one thing, he's a teacher in a classroom I would always attend. The guy's been trying to bring culture and understanding to people for years now, showing us stuff that may seem weird and arbitrary are actually very interesting and heavily steeped in culture. And I can honestly deeply respect that because I respect anyone who teaches people. And he makes it fun and entertaining to learn things about Japanese culture. And he knows a thing or two because he's lived that life. He's lived in Japan. So he knows firsthand the importance of understanding their culture and tradition. He also knows what it's like to be discriminated against because of your culture, because despite being a pure American, he was treated differently in Japan. But that didn't deter him because his students wanted to know about America. They wanted to know everything about him and he was glad to teach them. I honestly think that's awesome. Honestly, if I ever became a teacher, I would wish I was half as good as Gaijin Goomba. But that's just the tip of the iceberg on why I really like this guy. In fact, there's two big reasons why I really like him. Yokai Hunters and Witch Ninja. When he split off from the game theory, I honestly stuck around and watched the stuff here and there, but what really got me interested in his channel was Witch Ninja. Just to see him culturally break down each ninja on how accurate they are to real life ninja, it was interesting. And I honestly learned a lot more about ninjas through him than any book I could have picked up. Also, yes, Batman is totally a ninja, I agree. But that's just what got me interested. What solidified my love was yokai hunters. I fucking love mythology of other cultures. And honestly, next to Greece, Japan probably has my favorite collection of mythical monsters. Just because some of these are super creative. Raccoons with giant ball sacks, frogs that steal souls and eat cucumbers, a fucking jumping cuddle rope? You can't make this shit up, people. That's why it's awesome to see Gaijin take characters from anime and video games and stuff and actually break down their cultural inspiration. Like, I did not know Kitsune and Tanuki were actually bitter rivals. Or how much I absolutely love Gegege no Kitaro. No, seriously, go watch it, it's a great show. And all this from one little Goomba who represents what it means to be Gaijin. And I tip my katana to you. I think I cut something, I'll be right back.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Okay, there we go. I think I repaired and bandaged it up. Basically, I spun the sword, I chopped my tail, and then it got chopped in half, but I managed to bandage it back together. I'm leaving out a lot of details, that was just it oversimplified. That's what we call in the biz a flawless segue. probably one of the more newer YouTubers on my list, but honestly already one of my favorites. Little known fact about me, I love history. I love literally everything about learning history, I just find it so fascinating. So as you can imagine, Oversimplified already had a big advantage on me personally. But what made it even better is that honestly, I think the simplicity in his designs really help him out. All of his videos are animated with some stock photos thrown in, but all the animated characters are actually very simple blocky pieces. The main exception being any important historical figures, which are simultaneously cartoony yet super realistic at the same time, if that makes any sense. But even with all the simplistic designs, I can see why it takes him months at a time to release a video. Considering even with him reusing characters, it probably takes a long time to draw all these, especially when it comes to the historical figures. I mean, look at this, I'm jealous how he can be realistic yet simple at the same time. But I don't want you thinking it's just the designs that I love it, I'm not that shallow, thank you very much. No, I also appreciate his writing, how he can seamlessly have comedy yet also be educational. Never compromising one over the other, yet at the same time still explaining everything, even if it is oversimplified. Oh, I get the name now! He still manages to say it all in a very nice, concise, and easy way. No joke, I've actually heard that sometimes teachers play oversimplified stuff when they're teaching a lesson related to his topic. And you know what? I think they should. He's really good at educating people. I mean, if my high school can play The Simpsons of all things for Prohibition, why not Oversimplified? So good on you for teaching the world Oversimplified, and I hope you continue to teach us even more in the future, buddy. Though, let's just hope you never have to actually do World War III Oversimplified.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Hey, you know what's crazy? I'm a huge D&D player, I even play my own campaigns, and I'm only now putting a D&D person on the list. Crazy, right? Well, I suppose better late than never. So now I think it's time for the list to get a little absurd. I had to put Puffins somewhere on the list. Although keeping with the theme of this list, I was not expecting him to be in the top 10. Oh sure, he was gonna be on the list proper, so obviously I like his content. I just didn't expect it to be in the top 10, but the more and more I watched, the more and more I realized how much I loved his content. And honestly, I've liked his content since his very early stuff. And man, did I pick a hell of a first impression, as the very first video of his I saw was his video about Absurd, aka the greatest D&D character ever. And ever since then, I've loved his tabletop story animations. In fact, being totally honest, Puffin Force, along with the Adventure Zone, were two of the big reasons I got into D&D in the first place. In fact, more than that, Puffin Force got me into a lot more tabletops outside of D&D. It's thanks to him I found out about Deadlands, which is probably one of my favorite tabletop games now. I do like that he does videos on more than just D&D. Not only does it inspire me to try other tabletop games, but it gives me an idea of what they're like from his stories. I mean seriously, he made Deadlands sound super entertaining, and it was after trying it myself personally. Though it is pretty sad that even he couldn't make Travlers sound enticing. Who knows, maybe someday I'll give it a try. Maybe in a Hitchhiker's Guide style game? In any case, even without his tabletop stuff, I do enjoy his general storytime animations and general silliness. Like his working in a warlock corporation, I thought that was hilarious. And as much as I love his tabletop stuff, I do hope he does more random animations like that, cause they are very entertaining. Oh heck, just do more tabletop. I mean honestly, I'm in for the long haul no matter what he does. And maybe someday I can make a character as crazy as Absurd.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Puffin Force may have been one of the reasons I got into tabletop games, but this guy was the reason my love got rekindled. This guy's actually the most recent person I got into, funny enough. I only very recently started getting into Jocat stuff. Now, I actually knew about the guy long before I got into his channel. I first learned about Jocat through Dingo Doodle's video with him, and I instantly loved his character's story. It's just so wholesome. I always hold firm to the belief that it's better to have an unconventional character than a traditional one. I mean, an orc bard who's shy as hell, unconventional and wholesome. And I wish I had a better reason as to why I didn't get into his stuff, but I don't. My past self was a dumbass, that's all I got. Even if it took me a while though, I'm so glad I found Jocat stuff. Like his very entertaining video on Pokemon designs. It's a very awesome video if you ever want to make your own Fakeomon, or are just interested in how Pokemon designs probably work. Also, that animation, mwah, so smooth, like butter. After that, I found his Monster Hunter videos, which I found to be very entertaining being a fan myself. Being comedic, but in his own way explaining how each of the weapons work. But I'm stepping around the main reason why I love this guy, and probably the main reason why you all love this guy. His Crap Guide to D&D series. I don't want to say this guy peaked, but this is definitely his magnum opus. I really have to thank my bro Ed for sending me his DM crap guide, but then when I realized it was part of a series, I had to watch the entire thing before I watched this one. And as a DM myself, I 100% fell in love with all of it. I sympathize with this crazy noodle neck having all this knowledge of a DM yet not wanting to be one. Okay, so that's not entirely true. I actually like being a DM. And it was just fun to see him break down all these different characters, but then when he got to his crap guide to being a DM, it rekindled my love for DMing. It put into perspective that yeah, you're gonna deal with a lot of crap. You're gonna deal with a lot of players who probably don't have chemistry together. Things are gonna go wrong no matter how hard you prepare for them. But do what any good DM does. Hope for the best, expect the worst, and roll with the punches. So what if someone turned your big bad evil guy into a sheep? Have his cultists fight. Let the blind dragonborn have a gun. It's funny. Cause in the end, D&D was about building a story, and no one built more of a story than Jocat in his crap guide to D&D. And even if the series is over, I look forward to whatever he does in the future. But if I can make one simple suggestion, please do more goblin animations. They're adorable. Or maybe something involving kobolds, wink wink, hint hint.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
So I'm kinda starting this entry with a bit of a controversial opinion, but I do not like CinemaSins. At all. One could say I strongly dislike them. But since this list is supposed to be positive, I'm not gonna go into the nitty gritty of it. One thing I will say is that I think it's just too easy to point out things that are bad in anything. To be honest, I like praising things a lot more than deconstructing them. I find far more value in building things up rather than tearing them down. The point I'm trying to make is that I'm padding out this segment because I don't have a lot to say, but I do still love this guy. Yep, it's CinemaSin's good cousin Cinema Wins. Hell, being totally honest, I thought these were the CinemaSin guys. But no, it's someone completely unrelated. But regardless on who does it, I absolutely appreciate this channel. Honestly, the more and more the internet seems to warp and change criticism for better and for worse, it's nice to have someone that praises stuff, that finds the good in anything. And yeah, apparently this channel just started as a way to find the good in bad movies. Seriously, a lot of his early stuff are really bad movies. But eventually he went on to praise good movies as well, and honestly, I like that a lot more. It made me appreciate the good movies I liked that he reviewed a lot more. Not only by pointing out everything that did work, but even pointing out stuff that I completely missed. That being said, I do still enjoy him finding good stuff in bad or mediocre movies. Seriously, when everyone was freaking out about The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, saying how bad both of them were, meanwhile my derpy ass was just sitting in the kitty corner sipping my juice going, I thought it was good. Here came Cinema Wins to reinforce everything I loved about these movies. And I love both of them, and honestly, I love them a lot more after Cinema Wins pointed out some of the great things in them. Pointing out that no matter how much you may think you hate a movie, there's still stuff to appreciate. There's an old story in Hollywood that this one producer, no matter what movie he went to, would always give a standing ovation to every movie because he understood how hard it is to make a movie. He understood all the blood, sweat, and tears that would go into it, regardless on the quality of the final product. And you know what, I think that sums up Cinema Wins perfectly. I may poke fun and jab at bad movies all I want, but I will never take away all the good stuff that are in the movies nor the hard work that went into them. Which is why I'm so glad Cinema Wins is here to appreciate any movie, regardless on quality. I have no witty one-liner to end this on, so keep it going, good CinemaSins.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Well, if you've seen my bizarre modern reality of MLP video, you knew this guy had to be on the list eventually. To which my response would be, have you fucking met me? Of course Eyepatch Wolf was gonna make it into the top 5. Do I look like a pleb? Do I want to be turned into a Goomba? Do I look like some uncultured swine? Okay, all joking aside, of course this guy was gonna be on the list. I love Eyepatch Wolf. I discovered this guy's content way back when the Super Best Friends was still a thing. And I wanna say Matt was the one that shouted him out. And I'm glad he did and that I discovered this guy because this guy is an absolute treat to watch. You wanna talk about relatability? I related to Super Eyepatch Wolf almost immediately. He likes The Simpsons, and anime, and video games, just like me. Wrestling not so much, but I appreciate his enthusiasm. In fact, that's the best word I can use to describe his content. Enthusiasm. Yes, his voice may not sound enthusiastic, but the amount of research, editing, and dialogue and the fucking length of these videos, it's painfully obvious that he loves what he's talking about. He wouldn't have been able to do a video on the fall of The Simpsons without appreciating its rise in the first place. He wouldn't have been able to do a video on the fall of Bleach without liking Bleach in the first place. I can hear this guy talk about any topic for hours, which is good because his videos sometimes are an hour long. I know people that don't like those long ass essay videos, and those people are allowed to be wrong. I appreciate long ass essay videos. They give me stuff to listen to when I'm editing, and Eyepatch Wolf for some reason sends me into a zen when I edit. I don't know, maybe I want to be a better editor by seeing how good he is. Like seriously, even if I just listen to his videos, I have to watch the video at least once so I can visualize everything, because hot damn, this guy's editing skills are crazy. One of my personal favorites being this kaleidoscope effect in the Undertale video. I mean, you're just friggin' showboating at this point, and I love it. And I hope that one day my video can be as high quality as this is. Also, thank you for getting me into Junji Ito. I still have the nightmares.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
This next guy, I'm not even gonna introduce. I'm gonna let his theme music do it. So Call Me Johnny was the one of 3 content creators I knew was gonna make it into the top 5 no matter what. And put simply, it's because I fucking love this goofball. Honestly, we joke about relatability with YouTube channels a lot, but Johnny is the one I relate to the most. He's exactly what I'd imagine I'd be like if I ever got into video game reviews. Delivering equal parts snarky and weightiness while at the same time giving genuine critique and commentary. And some of his jokes hit way too close to home. And I watched this guy way back when he did an entire retrospective on the 3D Sonic games, with his Sonic Adventure series being the very first one I saw, because I grew up with the game and I wanted to see what he wanted to say about it. And from that point forward, I was completely hooked. Johnny is one of those content creators where the second I get a notification for one of his videos, I'm ecstatic. If I'm at work, I work harder just so I can get home already. If I'm at home, I'll boot it up on my big screen TV, oftentimes while eating my lunch. It just makes me happy whenever I see whatever he's gonna talk about. Whether I'm familiar with it or have no idea what he's talking about, I could care less. I just want to watch his stuff. Because he always makes it fun and entertaining no matter what. Whether he's collabing with someone, playing something on stream, or the Sonic hacking contest, I'm always there. Some may call him Johnny, but I call him my number 3 guy. Okay, that sounded better in my head. Let's move on.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Well, we've officially reached the number 2 spot, and honestly, this one I struggled with the most out of any entry. And I know I keep saying that this list was so hard, so and so, this and that. No, but literally, this one destroyed my brain. Because I struggled so hard on which one of these content creators was gonna be my number 1. Because I had so many questions that I need to choose between. Trying to not be completely and utterly predictable, while at the same time being true to my feelings. And it's also the reason why this video took way longer than it should have, because I flip-flopped between which one of these was gonna take the number 1 spot. And I'm just gonna be honest, in my heart, they both get the number 1 spots. I love them that much. But I ain't about to cop out and make them both number 1, so I had to ultimately decide in the end. And ultimately, it came down to this factor. One I fell in love with instantly, and the other had to wait to show how great he was. And that's where we are. So with all that being said, when I drop this guy in the number 2 spot, please destroy me gently.
It's so beautiful. The elegance, the story of why I love space. Oh, that's so cool. My computer can't handle the rent.
Come on, you knew Marky Moo had to be on the list at some point. And yeah, I love this guy. Honestly, I discovered this guy so long ago, I don't even remember what the first video was. I want to say it was one of his drunk Minecraft animations. Yeah, it was that long ago. And I've been a fan of his ever since then. Through Minecraft, through FNAF, through Who Killed Markiplier, to even Unis Honest, I've been there. And I haven't regretted or looked back for even a second. And the reason why is quite simple. Mark is everything I want to be as a content creator. Kind and sweet to everyone, not just his fans. Building people up so they can reach their full potential and be better content creators. Like what he did with Ethan. Always experimenting, doing what he wants to do, not just what everyone else wants him to do. Doing fringe and odd experiments like Who Killed Markiplier and Unis Honest, while at the same time delivering what he does best with infectious enthusiasm to the masses. Always getting better, always living up to the truest potential he can possibly have. I honestly believe Markiplier is one of the hardest working YouTubers out there, and I strive to be everything he is. I want that kind of drive and dedication. I want the ability to make what I love no matter what it is. And frankly, if you were to ask me who I would point to be the poster child for YouTube, it would be Markiplier. And it's not because he's the biggest, it's not because he's the most popular, but it's for all that drive, hard work, kindness, and determination I see in every video, that I strive to be and I want to live up to every single day. And maybe there are days when I'm pretty down, out of energy, and just not up for doing it. but I can always count on watching a Markiplier video, relaxing, and then getting the drive to get shit done. Because if he can get shit done, then so can I. And yet, despite all that, there's still one creator higher than him. Just know, Mark, that the ranking is completely arbitrary. You're number 1 in my heart. But before we reveal the number 1, here's a couple honorable mentions. C almost beat Babish for his spot in the ranking, but what ultimately hitched it was that I've been a fan of him from the beginning, whereas I've only recently gotten into Ro. But still, oh my god, those sweets look so good. Yep, another one of the boys, Jacksepticeye. I love his energy and enthusiasm, and honestly, if I was allowing ties, he would tie for Markiplier. Oh my god, they're tied together, the ship never dies. Listen to those British tones. The other top 10 list maker that almost made it on the list instead of Wambu, but I just liked Wambu's stuff a tiny bit more, so I went with him. You know, I'm honestly amazed none of the animation reviewers made it on the list at all. That being said, Saberspark was easily number 1 as far as animation reviewers, so if it was that list, it would be number 1, but ultimately I just like the other 15 entries better. But you can consider him the number 16. And finally, because I have to stop somewhere, another one of the D&D YouTubers that I was considering for the list. And I do love this guy's art style, and his videos are very informative, but ultimately Puffin and Jocat had to win. But alright, let's get to the number 1 spot finally.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
So how can I possibly justify putting anyone above Markiplier? And for that matter, how can I justify putting this person above 14 other YouTubers? Well, that's where you're wrong, because technically, I did put 2 people at the number 1 spot. Well, you know what, they're the number 1 and there's nothing you can do about it because I want to paint the town with them. And those colors are going to be red and blue.
Can you hear my heartbeat? Tired of feeling never enough.
Mark may inspire me to be a better YouTuber, but so does OSP in their own way. I discovered these guys way back during the last BronyCon. I was just chilling in my room with a bunch of my friends, and I decided to put on their review of Chicago. Not the musical, by the way, I'm talking about the city. And as I said before, I instantly fell in love with this content. And I'm not gonna lie, we just watched their city reviews, so I thought they were a city reviewing channel. Don't mind me, big old dumb watch who clearly couldn't see their genius. Because they did so much more than that. In fact, when I discovered they covered my literal bread and butter, I kind of just squeed a little. Red covered mythology and blue covered history. I love both of those things. But luckily they had more than just that, as Red also did some trope talk videos. I didn't think writing tips would be something I would be into, but I actually use a lot of their tips whenever I do my tabletop games, or when I'm just writing in general. And I know some of you are saying this may all sound well and good, but how the hell do I justify putting them above Markiplier? Put simply, I don't. I just love them. I guess the reason why is, again, I fell in love with them instantly, but I also love them for the exact same reasons I love Markiplier. Okay, maybe not word for word, but more in spirit more than anything. They also inspire me to be a better content creator, to try and get an actual consistent schedule out as far as my upload speed, to do what I love as far as content creation, while at the same time just being 2 lovable goofballs. I mean, just look at their animated stream highlights, holy shit, they seem like the funnest people in the world. And to me, a lot of that embodies what I love about doing this. It has been a crazy, turbulent time to be a YouTube content creator, and no matter how crazy it gets, I can always turn to OSP to make my life a little bit happier. Same for Markiplier, same for Babish, same for Johnny, same for anyone on this list. And it's not easy. It's not easy to get up, do your day job, and work on this on top of everything else, while at the same time finding time to stream and talk to your friends and stuff. I may not be even a fraction as big as any of the people I've mentioned on this list, but that doesn't mean I don't sympathize any less with their struggle, because no matter how corporate YouTube wants to make itself, it's still a community like any other. And I'm gonna live with you guys, after last year, it was not a good year for anyone. So I think this year we can all get behind being better as far as YouTubers, making the content we love that people love to see, to entertain and bring a little joy into a world that isn't exactly the best right now. And that's a promise that I intend to keep this year, to deliver more positive stuff and more funny stuff in the future for all of you to enjoy. So I'm the Watchful one, saying let's have a happy 2021 everyone, and let's keep on watching. I'll see you guys next time. Hey everyone, I just wanted to come at the end of this to thank you all so much for sticking through this long video. Seriously, this took longer than it should have, and I thank you so much for being patient. And I meant what I said, I'm gonna continue to create content as best I can. So if you're a new viewer, I hope you stick around for the long haul by subscribing. And if you've been around since the beginning, thank you. Thank you for sticking with me. And if you really believe in me, I do have a Patreon right down below. I'm gonna be taking a big step this year in finally moving, so I could really use the support if you've got any. Of course, it's completely optional only if you can. If the only support you can offer is sharing and liking the video, then that's good too. And that's pretty much all I gotta say over these credits, so the link to all these channels will be in the description down below, assuming I can fit it all. If not, I'll make a Google Doc like I did last time. And that's pretty much all I gotta say, so I'll see you when I see ya.